안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동탄 왕코입니다. 오늘은 4월 20일 수요일입니다. 아주 날씨가 좋아요. 벌써 시간이 5시가 넘었습니다. 하지만 밖은 아주 한낮 같네요. 한낮. 하루가 어떻게 지나갔는지 모르겠어요. 우선은 빨리 운동을 하고 또 다시 나갈 준비를 해야 해서 운동하겠습니다. 운동할 땐 뭐다? CNN이다.
When you travel the world, make sure the world travels with you. Check in, log on, and get connected with all of the latest developments at your fingertips. CNN Partner Hotels, connected to your world.
I'm Paula Newton in Ottawa, and this is CNN. Mr. President, should people continue to wear masks on planes?
That's up to them.
President Biden there appearing to accept that masks are now optional on public transportation. But the US Justice Department says it will appeal the ruling, striking down the mandates if the Centers for Disease Control determines masks are necessary for public health. Many major airlines, public transit systems and ride-sharing companies adjusted their policies to allow passengers to make their own decision, but public health officials say masks still serve an important purpose.
If someone's not wearing a mask, even if you're wearing a very high-quality mask like this, an N95 mask, they're infected, you have about an hour and 15 minutes of protection from them. On the other hand, if both of you are wearing good N95 masks, that goes up to 6 hours and 15 minutes. That's good enough for a cross-country flight.
In planes, there is quite good ventilation, except during boarding and deplaning. These are higher risk settings. But I'm really worried about buses and subways and places that don't have great ventilation. And a lot of people don't have the choice about whether to take public transportation to work. So what I would say here is, just because the government is saying you don't need to wear a mask, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't.
The Centers for Disease Control is weighing whether a mandate is necessary, but it's advising people to wear masks in indoor public transportation settings for now. Now, the British Prime Minister is apologising to the House of Commons for the first time since being fined by police for his role in the Partygate scandal.
I take this opportunity on the first available sitting day to repeat my wholehearted apology to the House.
Boris Johnson was found to have broken his own government's COVID lockdown rules back in 2020, but on Tuesday he doubled down on his defence.
Let me also say, not by way of mitigation or excuse, but purely because it explains my previous words in this House. that it did not occur to me then or subsequently that a gathering in the Cabinet room just before a vital meeting on COVID strategy could amount to a breach of the rules.
There's Nada Bashir's here with further details. It is bizarre, isn't it, that he's kind of saying he didn't do anything wrong, he was within the rules, but he's accepting the fine. A lot of people pointing out that he could appeal the fine if he doesn't think he broke any rules.
Well, exactly. The Prime Minister has said since last week when he was issued that fine that he respects the Metropolitan Police's decision. He accepts the understanding that he did break those laws, the laws that he put forward and put in place. But he has maintained that he didn't understand at the time that the actions of he and his colleagues in Downing Street could amount to a breach of the
That's
COVID
a defence,
regulations.
isn't it, under the code, that you if you didn't intentionally do it, it doesn't count.
Well, exactly, and that is the key thing here, that he is being asked whether or not he misled Parliament, and he has said that he didn't know at the time, so he didn't knowingly mislead MPs in the House of Commons, according to the Prime Minister. That is what he said. That is still, of course, up for debate. The leader of the opposition party, Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, described the Prime Minister's defence, though, as a joke. Take a listen.
What a joke. Even now, as the latest mealy-mouthed apology stumbles out of one side of his mouth, a new set of deflections and distortions pour from the other. But the damage is already done. The public have made up their mind. They don't believe a word the Prime Minister says. They know what he is.
The Prime Minister has gone from denying in Parliament that any parties took place, that any rules were broken, to of course now being fined. He was on repeated occasions in Parliament seen, filmed, denying those that any parties took place, that he was involved. Now the Labour Party is proposing an inquiry, a parliamentary inquiry, into whether or not the Prime Minister knowingly misled Parliament. That debate is set to take place on Thursday, but of course there are still calls for the Prime Minister to resign as well.
Okay, Nada, thank you very much indeed. We'll see what happens. In Hong Kong, nearly a dozen flights into the city are suspended right now due to China's strict COVID-19 restrictions. Commercial routes involving 10 airlines are on hold, including those from London, Amsterdam and New Delhi, according to the government. Meanwhile, multiple cities in China remain under full or partial lockdown as authorities try to curb the spread of COVID-19. The lockdown has sparked widespread anger, crippled supply chains and resulted in shortages of food and essential supplies. Still to come on CNN, why local leaders in Texas and elsewhere along the US southern border are bracing for a new surge of migrants, possibly as soon as next month. With the presidential runoff just days away, France's presidential candidates are preparing to debate each other in the coming hours, the issues they'll address just ahead.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. My name is Raza Jaffer, and I'm the founder of Global Sustainability Network and currently based in Dubai. GSN was founded in 2015 with myself, Bishop Sanchez from the Vatican, and Lord Bishop Alistair Redfern from Church of England. GSN was founded to help support heroes who are working around the world to fight modern-day slavery. And we've got a huge task ahead of us as a commitment signed by 193 countries to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So our purpose is actually to support organizations who are our heroes in ending modern-day slavery.
Business never sleeps. As the sun sets in Seoul and Shanghai, deals are signed in Dubai, and Europe is already in play. First Move. I'm Julia Chatterley, journalist, global market analyst, and host of CNN's First Move. Join me in the financial capital of the world for market-moving perspective on the news influencing global politics, culture, and finance. I'll speak to newsmakers, risk takers, and the ultimate game changers. Bold moves, big deals, winning trades. It's all right here. Make CNN your first move.
First Move with Julia Chatterley. Tonight on CNN.
Thousands of Americans in the northeastern US are without power after a nor'easter bringing strong winds and heavy snow hit the region. The storm, arriving late in the year, brought down power lines and tree limbs across several states. To the west, a blanket of snow can also be seen in the state of Wisconsin. Usually nor'easters affect mainly coastal areas, but this week's system tracked much further inland off the US east coast. In Arizona, a massive fire has been burning for several days northeast of Flagstaff. Residents near the so-called tunnel fire are under evacuation orders. Dozens of firefighters are working to contain the blaze, which is threatening about 200 homes. The last check, the fire had grown to about 6,000 acres, or some 2,400 hectares. Republican governors from 26 states are joining forces to create the American Governor's Border Strike Force. It's billed as a way to fight drug cartels and share intelligence connected to border security. The Texas governor says states must step up in the federal government's absence. Republicans and Democrats alike fiercely oppose President Biden's decision to lift what's known as Title 42 next month. The Trump-era pandemic policy allowed for the quick deportation of hundreds of thousands of migrants, citing a public health crisis. Now, border officials are again bracing for a potential surge at the southern border once Title 42 is lifted. More now from CNN's Rosa Flores in San Antonio, Texas.
This park in downtown San Antonio has turned into a waiting area.
How many days have you been in San Antonio? 7 days.
For migrants who are exempt from Title 42, the pandemic order that immigration agents to swiftly return migrants to Mexico. Among those who are exempt, an electric engineer, a paramedic, and a professional artist. They say they earned between $2 and $4 US a month in their home countries of Venezuela and Cuba. The city mayor, a Democrat, recently sending a letter to the Biden administration sounding the alarm about the unsustainable increase of migrants. His administration warning that if Title 42 lifts, the city's ability to meet the humanitarian need could be limited.
DHS estimates that thousands more migrants could arrive at the border. Would you be ready to serve that many more migrants?
It's daunting.
Katie Myers from Interfaith Welcome Coalition says that on average between 150 and 200 migrants arrive at this bus station every day. Many with cell phones, the migrants say, issued and geolocated by the U.S. government.
They said take a picture of yourself.
Some migrants confused about how to use the devices to check in with immigration officials using facial recognition technology, an alternative to detention rolled out by the Biden administration. Another 300 to 500 migrants being dropped off at the airport every day, says Myers. The latest spike, she says, started in mid-March.
How many of you had money to buy a ticket to get to your destination?
No.
And it came with a new challenge. Migrants are arriving with no plan and no money. The result? Sleeping at the park.
About how many people have slept in the park?
There might have been 20 or 25 men who...
Per night, says Myers. That's why Pastor Gavin Rogers says he recently opened a shelter at Travis Park Church. You see mostly men here because women with children are placed in hotels, he says.
They can shower, they can eat, they can receive the proper food, and they can wait safely
until they get through San Antonio.
On average, between 50 and 150 migrants sleep here every night, says Rogers, a nonprofit filling in the gaps for the federal government.
It falls onto nonprofits and municipalities that really are kind of indifferent to the local or national politics, but have to find a local solution.
U.S. Congressman Henry Cuellar represents this area, and he's bucking his party on Title 42, saying the Biden administration's intent to end the policy
would be a mistake.
So when you ask the White House for a plan, what do they say?
Well, they said they have a plan, and I saw...
Did they share the plan?
They said, we're going to notify the non-for-profits that more people are coming. That's not a plan. That's just a notification. They said, we're going to bring some of the agents from the northern border over here. That's only temporary.
Most migrants stay in San Antonio a few nights. Jesse Amaya has been here 21 days. He says he's waiting for his wife, who is still in Mexico, waiting to cross.
What's your biggest worry?
Su integridad física.
Her physical safety.
He says he plans to wait for her in San Antonio, the place they hope to call home.
So what is the mayor of San Antonio asking the federal government for? First of all, more resources and also a heads up before the federal government drops off an increasing number of migrants in his city. Rosa Flores, CNN, San Antonio.
Well, in several hours, France's presidential candidates will face off each other in a debate, with voters making their final decision in Sunday's runoff. Polling on Tuesday showed incumbent President Emmanuel Macron widening his lead over far-right challenger Marine Le Pen. Both Mr. Macron and Le Pen are trying to attract the voters who back the far-right leader, who came in, or far-left leader rather, who came in third in the first round. Jim Bitterman is in Paris, joins us now with the very latest. Jim, this is huge, isn't it? Because this is the first debate, but it's also the last debate, and crucial for both of these candidates.
The only debate, in fact, and debates in the past here have had an impact on the way people voted. Back in 2017, it was the same two candidates, Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron, who faced off each other in a televised debate. Marine Le Pen was widely believed to be the loser in that debate. She kind of lost her cool, and even she admitted that she could have done much better. She said she was tired because of all the campaigning. This time around, she's taken the last 148 hours off so that she's not so tired, theoretically, and she'll do a better job of it. We'll see on tonight's debate. But about a quarter of the French population was watching the debate last time around, 2017. So there's a lot of people going to be watching this tonight and making their judgments because of it. Next.
Issues with Macron appears to be his style, his elite status, that sort of arrogance. It seems to be the issue coming through in the polls, and that's the sort of thing he would be able to address in a TV debate, but he has to tone it right.
He has to tone it right. That's a very important thing, I think, for Emmanuel Macron. And, you know, unlike the last time in 2017 when the